Hey yo, what's up everybody? Dan Tom here, host of the Protect Your Neck podcast, analyst whose work you've probably seen on MMAJunkie.com or the Action Network. But on this here program, the Protect Your Neck podcast, we break down high-level MMA, whether you're listening to this today, tonight. Hopefully it's before the fight, recording this late on a Thursday night for, I guess, what I thought would be an earlier Australia show, but I guess it's going on in the normal time zones. I thought it would maybe be kicking off at 3:30 Pacific time. Here, but I guess that's the actual card, not the main card. The main card is closer to real time. That's what I've been reading. I know, Dan, you're the media member here. Why are you asking us? It's your show. You cover this shit. But yeah, that's what we're covering here is UFC 293, of course, in Australia. Israel Adesanya versus Sean Tarzan Strickland. It's, not the best pay-per-view or whatnot, although wishing definitely my Australians, in the house, or that will be in the house there. I know my guy Mark Fellows is out there getting some photographs with some of the top-level fighters the UFC did fly out there. Not necessarily to be on the card, but it looks like, everyone's having a good time out there. I'm hoping maybe even go to Australia or New Zealand by the end of the year. I'm realizing that I may or may not be able to get some cheap airfare out of that part of the world, and Dan Tom definitely needs a vacation. So, any New Zealand or Australian people holler at me. Though, to be honest, I'm actually gonna. What's first on the list is to see if Thailand is a part of the deal. Maybe I'll reach out to Bang Tao Muay Thai or something like that, and see if they'll have me, or if somewhere will have me. That would be awesome. So, anybody with connections, anybody with residences, recommendations or the such on any of those places, feel free to hit me up, because planning is in progress. But that's not why we're here. We're here to break down cards, and I'm going to do an ultra quick recap of the past 2 weeks that I missed you guys, or the past 2 weeks of results. I think I gave you guys a breakdown for UFC Singapore. Did not recap results. We'll recap results of that quickly, as well with UFC Paris quickly. Again, apologies, going to save all the excuses and all the BS. Nobody cares about that. We don't really got the time, nor do I care to get into it. Just been being attacked at all angles and got, sick on top of it. So you just, just literally every little phase and level my body's been being attacked on. But I'm not complaining because I'm here, so it's not that bad, right? But life is life, and was a little bit too busy to throw you guys a podcast. Almost was too busy to call it off this week, to be honest, for multiple reasons. But we adjust. We're flexible. And not to be a bootstrappy or anything like that, but when you do push yourself and embrace life's climate, whatever weather it's throwing at you, you'd be surprised what you can endure. I will say that. Just throw some positivity out there. I don't mean it bootstrappy, But yeah, so we are doing our thing. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for hitting the like button. Seeing the enforcers in the house. My man Jimmy Kudo. What is up, Jimmy? How you doing, sir? Appreciate you. How have you been, Jimmy? I hope you've been well. Mark Fellows is in the house. Look at that fair warning, DT. I may attend the Jake Matthews appearance this evening. Jake Matthews. Oh, Jake Matthews is there. I was like, oh man, I'm not gonna get any chance to say Jake Matthews. Jake Matthews. I'm going to have to lean on the Toss and Pedro. We're getting all the Australian classics here. Do we get Jamie Mullarkey coming out here too? Maybe. Jamie Mullarkey, right? Tyson Pedro. Pedro's like pedophile there. I'm surprised Sean Strickland didn't throw any of those out with all the classic things he was throwing out there. Oh my goodness. I am glad, speaking of, if there's any week where maybe it was, to go light, to not really invest in the media coverage. Maybe it was this week, although that did not escape me either. We'll get to all the fun stuff, mainly the fights and all the picks, of course. It's 1:20 p.m. Sydney time over in Australia. Mark Fellows, you are the man. I didn't expect you to be on this week with it being in your backyard. You had more than an excuse between my inconsistent and late ass and you having the the Uncle Dana's traveling show in your backyard, sir. That's more than a legit excuse, so thank you for being here. Cheers to Mark Fellows. Another fellow enforcer, Ghost Phantom in the house. What's good, my friend? I don't know if I can stay up. Got an early drive tomorrow. Well, I appreciate you guys, and apologies for the late show. Guy James Kendrick, wishing you a great podcast today and some positive vibes. Thank you, sir. Jimmy Kudo. I don't know if we will see the regular boys today. It's okay. I've seen enough of you guys. You guys have already outdone this podcast standards. I know it's a bit of a lower bar, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you guys and my appreciation for you guys and the fact that you guys are already here. That's pretty damn cool. So hit the like whether you can stay or hang or not, and I'll try to get this show going. Save some time. I didn't really write down what we did. It's funny. We actually won on UFC Singapore. It was a small winning night. And of course, I don't come back on that. I continue to come back on losing weeks, right? Not a bad losing week, not like a reverse sweep like the last time I saw you guys. Small losing night, thank goodness. But yeah, that's my style, right? Great for the mental health there, but again, it's fine. We are tough as alligator skin at this point, guys. After this year, believe you me. So for picks, I think we did pretty good overall on the picks. I think we went 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, 5-0, 5-1, 6-1, 7-1. Ulberg-Jung makes it 8-1. Should have went with Kernan, 8-2. Billy Goff, really impressed with him. 8-3. JJ Aldreyes, I didn't say it like that, but she still came through. 9-3. And Sungwoo Choi of Jano Aaron's. Sorry. Get the chopper. It was like 10-3 overall in picks. So we did good. I think we let's just go to the sheet, shall we? Because I've been keeping sheets over here, while we're in the big book of the dead over here. Book of the dead. Excuse me. Still clearing up. But yeah, we did plus, what was it, like 1.5 units, nothing big. We missed everything on the round robins. No, nothing to cry about there, which is fine. We hit Blanchfield straight up, which was very nice. And we hit Smith, which I was very grateful for, obviously, because it could have gone either way on that one. And we'll talk about that very briefly. Missed Porter. It was one of the few dog shots. I tend to play those, since I don't play too many of those. And then we hit the at least the round 3 round flyer on Max, the round 2 round flyer on Aldridge. Missed the sub for Smith. Missed round 3 sprinkle for Blanchfield, and the round 1 sprinkle for Chikadze. But yeah, just want to note, I know I usually don't come on the right side of decisions or whatever, if you will, or close splits or whatever. I did get the Anthony Smith one. I was very grateful for that. Definitely made a difference in the night. That, Max Holloway coming through as well in round 3. Nice send-off for Chan Sung-Jung for what it's worth. I know it was still a brutal KO loss. And still took more damage. It's kind of what we saw coming, right? And then, yeah, even though it wasn't as atrocious as many were making it out to be, the decision, I'm still going to try to keep that same energy and be grateful for a close decision, even though, again, the rare occasions where I do get these or these do qualify, it's like it's not like it's like some robbery I got or anything ever like that, but nevertheless, I still keep the same energy, definitely the grateful energy. That's all that matters. Giga Chikadze defeated Alex Caceres. Rinya Nakamura looking good for Japan. Nice athletic prospect there. Blanchfield, that fight went pretty much like as expected, minus that she didn't get to the ground, which is why I thought she might have been able to get a finish. She would have eventually gotten it to the ground or more dominant positions and whatnot. But she may do by staying active and keeping Talia Santos on defense. So I don't have an issue with the decision so much, but. She came through there. Junior Tafa defeated Parker Porter on that one. Tafa boys are doing good. We'll talk about more Tafa in the card coming up. Waldo Cortez Acosta. I missed this one, but apparently he actually goes out there and looks good. And as said, of course, I make a comment on going heavyweight lead in to heavyweight main card, which is just atrocious. I don't care that these results were both first round KOs. It's still atrocious card structuring or matchmaking. They can act like it was like their grandmaster plan, but it's like, no. It's coincidence. You guys just get lucky. That's why you're buying cheap labor from the Contender Series and throwing it out there, because you're going to, 1 out of every 100 maybe, but still 1 out of every 100 you're going to get some Impa Kasanganay, Joaquin Buckley highlight on one of your cards, and all that's going to cost you is some $50,000 that should be $250,000, by the way, minimum bonus for these fighters. So they can act like they're geniuses all they want for that. That's just what happens. Garrett Armfield defeated Tashima Kazama. I didn't watch that. Mikhail Alexeyev defeated Kawani. I didn't watch that. Song Kernan defeated Rolando Bedoya. He should have just played and picked Tout Master just because. And I almost did that, but I'm like, oh, I didn't pick Kernan on the podcast. I'm just going to keep that same energy. And you guys know my record as far as picking opposite from what I'm actually picking on Tout Master. It still hasn't worked for me. So I'm not, I wasn't trying to test that, though. It would have came clear there. That would have been decent points. Billy Goff defeated, God damn it, Brad Dashik for the MMA analysis. Yusaka Kinoshita. Brad goes, God damn it, Brad. Damn you. Poisoning the well. Oh. That's a great nickname, man. I love me some body work, so shouts out to Billy Goff there. Can't be mad about missing that. JJ Aldridge, of course, you guys know my thing. It's not so much is this fighter a finisher or not. For example, I may be playing a fight to go to decision between two finishers, right? In the Aldridge Liang fight, I played a decision machine to get a finish. It's what the matchup calls for. And am I going to be right about that? No, not every time. Maybe not even most of the times, of course. Only some of the times. But this is one of the more proven dynamics, I would more argue, at least this one. We'll see about the more balls you want to be taking on the Australia main card. For 293 coming up here, and Sung-Woo Choi defeated Jano Aarons. Of course, I didn't watch that one. All right, 11:09. That's not bad. Let's flip it over to UFC Paris, which just happened last weekend. We went minus 1.27, so we took a unit and a half climb back up to trying to get out of hell, which we're still in, and then we dropped down 1.27 units again. Just what it is. Happy that it wasn't more. I'll be grateful for that. But for picks, how do we do in picks on this one? 0-1, 0-2, 1-2, 2-2, 3-2, 4-2, 5-2, 6-2. Steady there. 6-3, but probably could have been 7-2, right? 6-3. We'll get to that one. 7-3. 8-3 overall in picks on this one. We went 0-4 on the round robins again on this one. Ozdemir by KO, which looks like it was going to get there, but I guess the guy was just wouldn't go well. I was on the phone when that one happened, and I'm not one to cry about it anyways, but I don't know if that could have been stopped if that was one, you'd expect me to cry about it. I don't care, man, whatever. Saint Denis decision didn't happen. Thankfully, out the counter, I took Saint Denis rounds 2 and 3. For the untracked, which we only came up like a half a unit short there. But hey, thankfully I took that at least. We had, who else? Who the fuck did I write? Chud Ho's sub. Yeah, that didn't happen, and neither did the Spivak sub happen. The parlay saved us. Parlay, I know, it's not been good to us, but again, I know, again, it was classic, everybody's acting like a genius, of course. Gon defeated Spivak, and it was just, it was unfortunate, and I was saying it was unfortunate, and I didn't, mean lazy analysis is like an insult, but it was just one of those classic things. And by the way, I've had this criticism when I was on the winning side of both the pick and the play with Derek Lewis over my favorite Flowrider. So I do keep the same energy even when I win, so it's not sour grapes here. It's just the fact of, like, I hate those fights, and and not just win or lose, also before the fact win or lose. I'm very consistent with this energy where I hate these fights, and again, I call them out prior, where you could just tell, whether MMA gambling Twitter, it's going to be one of those fights where no matter who wins or loses, whoever the winner is going to be obnoxious. They're going to act like they're the genius, right? It doesn't matter which side wins. It's applicable to both sides. It's not picking on one person, one side, one group, the other group. It's just how it is, and I hate these fights. And especially when it's not just MMA, which is volatile enough as it is for people to be acting like they're geniuses, but heavyweight MMA, And... and especially, like, having to just go through, like, hell of, like, from half the people, either on Gone over Jones and just, like, kind of, like, quiet about it because, like, nobody wants to, like, put their hand up. Like, I'm picking against the GOAT, because who wants to do that? Even me, who's called a Jones hater, if you actually look at my record, I seldom pick, much less ever play against him. But when you do, you're not going to look good. You're not going to win any popularity contests, folks. So to sit through that and then have everybody, then gone, of course, not just a matchup in MMA, a matchup in heavyweight MMA, a matchup in heavyweight MMA against one of the air quote GOATs, right? You should already be more than well aware that you can lose that, right? That's more than a reality. But when you go out and lose it just so emphatically and such, when the one guy goes and has his best performance, the other guy that you're backing, of course, right, has his worst performance, you just look like the biggest idiot. You look like and everybody's like, I told you so. Look at these guys, they can't grapple. And then you even have people throwing the same criticisms that you are usually trying to remind the masses as far as the lack of grappling at heavyweight and this and that. And everybody's throwing it back at you like, oh, remember grappling at heavyweight? See how much it is important. See, even a guy like Gane, if you would have just stuck to your own words. So whether it was lazy analysis or vindictive analysis or just front-running analysis, all y'all were right. 10 spades forward. Then we reverse to literally the same matchup. Not the same matchup, but literally the same styles dynamic, right, as far as grappler versus striker. And even though Jones wasn't just a grappler, and those of us picking him or not picking him, we're definitely acknowledging the striking presence, whether we thought he was going to succeed or fail there, that there would be that there. He does primarily strike, for those of us to not have that recency bias, and part of the reason why many of us were picking Gane, right? But now we have a guy who's actually committed, more even committed than the one guy who gets labeled as one of the few wrestlers at heavyweight, which is Curtis Blaydes, who has, of course, for whatever reason, decided not to wrestle in key occasions and got knocked out for it in some of the more obvious occasions when he should have wrestled, right? You're like, what is this? Like, okay, say what you will about Spivak. He started young. He's, not the most cleanest, but he's finding his style, and his style is aggressive grappling. And is he as good a fighter as Jon Jones? No, of course not. Is he a good wrestler, whether it's credentialed or technique-wise? Even me, someone who openly doubts and will remind you, like I kind of just did and did before, about the downtrends, whether we're talking about statistical, air quote, technical eye, or anything in between as far as Jon Jones' game, if you, again, actually look at the tape, instead of just going, go smash, go, like everybody usually does, you get, you gotta... So you got a guy who's actually consistent about it. And again, he's not as good of a wrestler or whatever. But it was just like, everyone was like, oh, he's not as good of a wrestler. His wrestling is trash. And I'm like, is it really that trash? I mean, for heavyweight here, right? He's actually pretty diverse. He's not great level changer. Those definitely aren't his, he's much more stronger in the clinch. But he's got a lot of things from the clinch, from hip bumps, foot sweeps, he can even chain to and from a single snatch. You've seen him do that against the cage. And more importantly, he literally, whether it was Greg Hardy fight or like a couple others, he literally hit the exact same takedown Jon Jones hit on Ciryl Gane. And it only took one. And Spivak showed not just to hit it once in a fight, he can hit it multiple times in the same fight against multiple different opponents who are bigger than Jones. Or not bigger than Jones, bigger than, or as big as Gane, right? So, and again, it wasn't a guarantee that Gane was going to win the fight, which is why the parlay that saved my ass was the under, because, Dan, it's a heavyweight fight. Gane is favored for a reason. Yes, I'm obviously not blind to the other side. My problem is everybody that was so belligerently, just unabashedly blind toward the Spivak side going in, and the worst part about that is I'm like, great, watch. People are doing the thing that I would never be caught dead doing, because I have hard enough time with luck even when I'm, being respectful, reasonable, minimal expectations. But when other people do it, they'll tend to get away with that, right? And especially if I'm on the other side, I'll look like the idiot. And again, it wasn't that Gane couldn't win or anything like that, or everyone else's analysis was wrong. It was almost maddening. Like, people I respect even were just like, do you not see that he... How could he possibly get him down? I'm like, I don't know. Maybe his main preferred takedown that Gane just got hit with and couldn't even get up with. And it's only been 5 months. How much are you going to improve that? Especially, at heavyweight, and when you're a heavyweight who is an athletic, a dynamo who doesn't usually feel like he has to improve, even if he is, air quote, motivated BJ Penn mode. How much could he really do? It didn't really matter, because Spivak goes out there and he has a match that's so bad that even people who don't bet and were picking Gane and have any of the interests or side of it or perspective as me were just like, even those people were like, holy crap, like, it was so bad, folks, that, again, I'm not like a robbery guy. I'm not like a fight was fixed guy or whatever. This is one of those fights that it wasn't just from what I saw happen, but even the woo-woo side, like watching Sergey Spivak come out and kind of like get announced, like he looked like he was there to fucking lose. I don't say that, and I say that at the risk of knowing I picked him and bet him, and this is coming amidst a tirade, so it looks like it's salty grapes, even though, like I said, I've always kept this same energy for this analysis dynamic and pet peeve, win or lose, prior or before. It's what it was. It was a terrible fucking performance. We really didn't get things answered, and even people without the, the analysis that I'm criticizing, even them admitted as much. Like, I don't know how much really was answered, right? But it's okay. Everybody gets to go pat themselves on the back and feel like a genius and whatnot. That being said, boy, yeah, Spivak definitely. People, it's like I agree too. Like people like doing the Mitch McConnell thing, like Spivak in big fights. Like I agree, but again, back to that irony in this selective. Well, see, you can't compare him because he's the GOAT. It's like, no, I wasn't comparing Spivak's resume to John Jones. I'm looking at the style, like I do every time. Like I feel, and many feels, arguably one of the most important things to look at. We can play this by numbers, we can play this by woo-woo and vibes and feels, but, I like to go I like to go with stylistic evidence. And as much as I agree now, in retrospect, yeah, definitely Spivak chokes in big fights. But literally, those same memes were being used for Gane just a fight before, after he dropped it to Jones. But now he's being treated like the Chad, right? And Spivak, and that's fine. I'm just saying, realize it, folks. Realize what happens. Realize how easy recency bias is, right? How guilty so many of us are. And, yeah, that's all I ask, because I feel like I'm going crazy over here. All right, let's just speed through the rest of this, because that was way too long to spend on that. Fiorot defeated Chud Rose. No complaining here. Again, Rose is not a fighter to really bet on, which is why I was leaning toward Fiorot. But then after watching the tape, I saw those open stance head kicks, and that was another annoying thing, because it's like you didn't realize that, but minus Leonardo, the last 4 Fiorot opponents actually like hit her hard with open stance head kicks, and I'm like, well, now she's facing the most opportunistic, one of the longer, ironically, despite it being another strawweight, not a strawweight, another, because she's fought strawweights who moved up before, right? Another strawweight who moved up. She's actually got the best opportunistic head kicks, and sure enough, every time Rose got her in position for it, she would just reset and let her off. And so that was just frustrating. But even with that, it was even more frustrating, because if you did bet on Rose, you were taking a chance on which Rose shows up. Was a big part of it, regardless of how positive or negative you felt about the stylistic matchup, right? There's also that which Rose shows up. And the unfortunate part of that is you actually did back a Rose that did show up. I'm not saying she would have won if she didn't break her finger, because again, she broke her finger. That's still not an excuse. In fact, that's even less of an excuse of why she didn't throw that high kick, right? So I'm not saying she would have won because of that. Believe me. Again, I stay very realistic, win or lose, on both fighters' possibilities. I'm not trying to act like a genius or anything's one-sided here. But it did happen really early in that first round, and you can't help but wonder, right? And again, I know I'm grateful to finally get a close decision, for whatever that's worth, on a card the week before. But the most one-sided record that I've been on the wrong side of, which is injuries. Again, feel free to say in the chat, tell me a fighter that has been injured that I've been on the right side of. I think the only one you can say was it Lucindo or something, the knee bar one. I didn't bet or what the fight, but I technically picked the winner in that fight. Like, that's literally the only one I can think of in the last 3 years since the pandemic. So that streak continues as well intact. Benoit Saint Denis, of course, defeated Thiago Moises. We talked about that. Oezdemir Bogdan, we talked about that. Gomain, I didn't really watch that too much. I just thought that the referee thing was a bad protocol. Morgan Charrier defeated Manolo Zucchini. It was nice to see Charrier finally coming into the UFC at the right time. Nice to see Lapalus back. Hopefully we could see Kalen Loughran against that was tough for him. He went from like having a favorable matchup to an unfavorable one, so hopefully we get to see him on a full camp against a more favorable, not more favorable, just a more sensible matchup. I didn't watch Angelusa versus Reese McKee, didn't watch Cornhole versus Edwards, although I was close to betting Edwards, and of course, again, I felt like this card was going to be doomed for me because, there was a lot of I think I had Gomi by decision, which looked like it would cruise to that. That was going to be something I was going to be on, and the other thing I was going to be on was Edwards. So either way, like, this card had my name on it. It had, bad referee interventions, which again, I've got really bad record when it comes to those. And again, back to the not just close, but people. And I didn't watch it, so I'm not trying to say that. But this was one that got everybody up in arms. Was the Edwards-Cornoli decision? But I probably would have been on the wrong end of one of those two. So And I was like, not even trying to like rub it in either, being like, oh, I dodged a bullet, or I was keeping quiet because I'm like, nope, Dan, you're gonna stay humble. You're not gonna tempt the MMA gods. We're gonna try to get out of line. No. So yeah, that is it for the recap. Let's get on to the fun stuff, shall we? We spent way too much time. 25-18. Ba-da-ba-bam. Let's go to, what the fuck is this? 293. Yeah, 25-18. What the fuck is this? All right, let's go here. Yeah. We got UFC 293, of course. It's going to be headlined by Israel Adesanya versus Sean Strickland. Let me pull up some odds here on the lovely FightOdds.com. It's so wonderfully organized. Yeah, minus 770. Adesanya, come back on Strickland, roughly plus 480, depending on where you're looking. Yeah, this was supposed to be third Reichus, but man, Strickland is doing his best to bring all the bait and energy in the press conference. Is he not? So I guess for those fans of that stuff, there's that. But in all seriousness, even though I could, be more pressing my relations with people or this or that. Like I said, which is a good thing too. When you see the James Krause situations of the world. I keep things honest with you guys. I keep things level, and I try to keep that same energy, if you will, with the people in real life who I consider friends, professionals, and work with as best I can. And yeah, I'm not trying to stoop out inside information. Do I talk? There's talking shop, but what I don't do is snoop out the inside information or anything like that or anything like that. I don't know. Honor code here, at least for me. I'm not saying everybody does it that way. Definitely don't. But as far as if you guys are saying, Dan, can you give us hints at what the game plan is going to be? No, because I do not know the game plan. I am just as curious as far as you guys are what the game plan could be. I can, however, tell you what perhaps we could see from things when these two fighters meet to what we do know about them, as well as, yes, some anecdotal things as far as Strickland in the gym, which is its own category. I'm not talking about him, knocking out random dudes in the sparring footage. I'm talking about like what the people that actually train with him say, the actual fighters who are UFC level fighters as well, who train with him say. That's more of what I respect, and I'll get to you guys in the chat too, at least for this fight. Then I'll probably just jump back down after we clear the main card. But yeah, as far as Strickland style, the way I approach this one is more how would Adesanya approach a guy like Strickland. Now we can have the outfighty Strickland who kind of gets stuck out with ideas, which could happen. We've seen that happen in an Adesanya fight before, especially if Strickland gets stuck and looking to more counter play on the outside, gets countered hard at first and sees some things he doesn't like. It's not a popular style of Strickland fight, but is one we got to be realistic about. Also goes against the bet and makes me sweat the bet that I am playing for this fight. But it's a realistic possibility. However, when you look at what Sean generally tries to do, what he does best, as well as what this matchup calls for, those are three technically different things, but you try to string the common threads where you can. And yes, I do believe that pressure is going to be there. Now, the thing that's funny is he's good about mixing up his jab tempos and showing the jab only to lead with the right and then step with a step with the left. He can shift and change up his steps. He can do some subtle things there. It's not just your basic, just jab, just jab, just jab, which will definitely get him timed off the bat. And, if he does get too predictable, we saw what happened with, Poatan Pereira, who I did pick by second round knockout, right? Despite the extreme couture, Eric Nixick bias, or whatever you want to accuse me of. We could see Adesanya make those similar reads here, as he reminded us he kind of can counter and follow the punches back pretty well. Even though he doesn't have the Poatan knockout power, who had the more emphatic stoppage as far as MMA goes, not kickboxing, right? As far as the MMA goes, Adesanya had them for the guy who doesn't hit as hard. He's very pinpoint, especially with those types of counters. So that's going to be the real ride the lightning dynamic that I believe I kind of characterize how Strickland's going to have to do. He's really going to have to ride that lightning, where he is going to need those lightning bolts, his straight shots, because that's just what he operates in. He's not a guy who's just going to uncharacteristically shoot in the middle of the open, uncharacteristically win hooks, and just, throw a spin kick or just shoot off of a kick, like some Sanda guy or something. If it's a level-changing shot or a shot in the open, or it's going to have to be more of a well-timed shot, which I think will actually serve him better, even though the clinches should be a priority where to push through. We also can't deny that Adesanya has really had to upgrade his MMA clinch game as far as the MMA and anti-grappling aspects of him fighting to his frame goes, because that's kind of a lot of the matchups, a lot of the ideas people have had against him, a lot of the quiet work that City Kickboxing has done as a camp they don't necessarily get credit for. So I do think that the well-timed shots more in the open, countering something off of a kick, would be much better, especially because of the jabbing and the lack of kick defense. That weighted front leg, I imagine, is going to be a target Adesanya is salivating over, right? I'm sure he's going to smartly try to attack the calf, as well as with his excellent distance managements and disguising feints. Again, there's a lot of layers there. It's not just easy as catching a kick and being ready for it. But these are pathways for Strickland to close, create shuffles, scrambles, and perhaps possible takedowns if he plays his cards right. That being said, this won't be the small cage of the Apex where Strickland is accustomed to fighting. Adesanya will have more ground. Adesanya is riding high off some confidence. He's not lacking the motivation. And especially as Sean pokes at him, it's not like the respect he had for Cannonier, right? The actual respect. And then there's the physical respect, which he had for both Cannonier and Romero. When I am referencing these decisions that I'm not so subtly talking around and afraid of, because my bet here is an inside the distance bet, if you didn't already guess it. But there were multiple respect factors at play, and I don't know if we're going to get either of those respect factors at play. Does that mean it can't go to decision? Of course it could still go to decision. I'm a realist here, folks. I'm not trying to sit here and be like, I got the answers, this is going to cash. Like, that's not me. Go somewhere else for that. I'm sorry. But I just honestly, when I'm looking at it, I'm like, does he have those same respect factors? I don't see that. Cannonier is arguably not as durable as Romero, and arguably not as durable as he's getting credit for, but I think he's more durable than Strickland, right? And Romero obviously more durable than both of them. That's another factor you have to consider there. Strickland has been hittable, whether it's left hooks or shins from that left side, those kicks, an Izzy question mark kick, an Izzy check hook, I could absolutely see. It's been those left-sided strikes, right? When Izzy Dos Santos spin kicked him with the right, it was a spin kick with the right, which means where did it hit? On Sean's right side, which means of a left-sided strike. Staying with those themes from left-sided strikes tend to trouble Strickland the most. So I'm actually going to go with Adesanya, round 3, TKO. I sprinkled round 2, it's plus 600 as well. Round 3, plus 750. 0.33 U apiece. If it doesn't happen in those rounds, as long as Adesanya gets it done inside the distance, I will still technically profit, although not by much, because I played Adesanya and I only could get him at minus 140, 1.4 units. You say, why not by knockout? Well, because I get bad numbers means the same house only offered by knockout, minus 125. Now, I did find a plus 110 by knockout, which, again, The only really reason Izzy could get a sub is because he has legitimately been working on his grappling. We haven't seen it. He's been working on it with, obviously, high-level guys like Craig Jones and the like. And, again, Strickland's not far from being hurt. Will probably be pressuring forward, trying to look for takedowns, especially if hurt. I wouldn't be beyond Izzy to maybe wrap something up with his long arms and kind of flex and floss, especially in matchups where, shout out to my guy Aaron Bronstetter, where, if you have the if you're a talented fighter and you're given a matchup where, let's just say, at least on paper, with no disrespect, meaning you can maybe style a bit. These are usually the spots you could style. So, there is an argument for the inside of the distance as far as hedging there for the small, since there really is only a small number difference. You're really not getting that much more profit. That being said, I don't blame you if you go for the KO line. I just did it because most of the places you can get inside the distance lines are actually like near even money at minus 110. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I put that on there. But I played it at minus 140 because, again, not only do I get shitty numbers, but I'm also one of those guys who actually plays what I put out there. I know, crazy, right? Even if it's detrimental to myself, I got to keep that same energy and all that shit, right? So, yeah, I played it at a shit number, so it kind of juxtaposes my returns a bit. But if you're playing it toward even, you can just kind of fire away and just hope he gets the finish. Or maybe you don't even got to entangle yourself and you can kind of go for the hot rounds for Adesanya. I believe are going to be rounds 2 and 3. A lot of people from inside the camp, like Chris Curtis of the world, feel like Strickland's strongest rounds are going to be 4 and 5. Even if though Adesanya, is not one to fade, is more proven in those rounds, is more experienced in those rounds, and on paper is projected to win those rounds very clearly. I doubt he wants to stick around and find out if he doesn't need to. So give me Adesanya rounds 2 and 3, and inside the distance is what I'm on there. Let's see what you guys had to say about that, and we'll mow through the rest of this card. Got Brad Dashuk. I'm gonna have to catch the replay, but hope all is well. Thanks, Brad. You definitely got a shout in this one, you son of a bitch, you sack of shit. Shout out to the MMA analysis pod too as well, by the way. Let's see, here we go. We got Rio Susan Truesdale. Hey, you won a UFC Singapore. I congratulate you and hopefully you have more. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I'll take that. Again, I wasn't around to take my flowers because you know me, I keep missing the weeks where I win and coming back on my losing weeks, which doesn't help the perception, but I appreciate you guys keeping score. This might send you on a rant, but why is the media perpetuating the culture war BS surrounding Adesanya Strickland? It's really annoying. Is that something that interests in this matchup? It's very predictable that they did because they've been doing this, and I've been kind of sick of this because it's just like, dude, like, shout out, like, again, if you've been listening to me or even back on properties that I've been a part of and guests that I've had on the show, shout out to Jordan Killian, MMA Latest, dating back to 2015, almost 8 years ago, folks. They were some of the earliest to have Sean Strickland on because Sam Alvey worked for that outlet, and we would all do podcasts together. And we found out really quickly that Sean Strickland was a real gun freak guy and all these things that again, the media can't help but keep going. And I love Chris Curtis too, by the way, but it's just like let's just bring, now they're just like bringing on Sean Strickland's like training partners on shows to be like, what does Sean say behind closed doors? like that that's what everything is turning into now. Like, and I called this already. Me and those again that I cited, this isn't anything new, so it's especially annoying to me and many. So you're right about it sending me on a rant, but yeah. So it's what it is, and it's like, and the thing is, it's like Strickland's like that kid in class, like he's like that class clown in class. It's like, and I'm not saying that to Colby Covington, Cape, or defend him in any way or anything like that, but it's just one of those things. Like I don't even think, and I wouldn't presume to know, but I honestly, if I was a betting man, get him ahead, I wouldn't even think he believes half the shit that he spews off. You can almost just see the glee in his mouth because, again, the media are gonna play right into it, and he's gonna get paid. He's gonna get these sponsorships and title shots, and be the company man. Like, of course he's. I mean, it's reinforced behavior. He's only being reinforced positive through clicks, through interviews, through UFC opportunities. And again, this is nothing new, whether we're criticizing the UFC and who they like to promote, and it's nothing new if we're keeping that same energy with the media, folks. So, yeah. All right. Congrats on going 6-1 at UFC Singapore. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. James Kendrick, I got to ask, can you do a Sean Strickland impression and say, We should all love and respect each other no matter where we come from. We should all love and respect each other no matter where we come from. Kumbaya. I don't know what Strickland's trying to do. I feel like he's trying to do like Stone Cold Steve Austin, Chael Sonnen, like a mix. He's really getting, and then he's almost like trying to run for candidacy. He's like, I don't care who you are. I'm like, what are we running for, like candidacy at a certain point? Like, what are we doing here? I had it on in the background when I was doing some house stuff earlier today. Came on the YouTube autoplay. I can't believe, Ghost Phantom says, I can't believe, but Strickland does jab a lot, and Adesanya hates jabbers, as you have said in the past. And Strickland can just be annoying when he gets in his rhythm, so maybe that is something to watch out for. Ghost Phantom adds, that doesn't mean we favor Strickland to win, though. Of course not. Ghost Phantom, by the way, big shouts to him. Was so happy to see him getting his due daps after Zhang Weili, the Zhang Gang's recent appearance. And you want to talk about Zhang Gang, this guy is Zhang Gang, so shouts to my guy Ghost there. All right, hit the leg. We're going to go co-main event time. I don't know if it's up yet because I was a bit late this week, battling the sickness, but it's okay. I actually tried to make room to see some friends this week. Not to name drop, but fighter friends, fight promotion friends, Special Forces friends, just a bunch of old school friends that I haven't seen since the it's one of the UFC military trips we did. So it was nice, but my body was not ready for it, and I am still paying for it and trying to incubate here. So we'll see. Bear with me, folks. All right, we got Alexander Volkov minus 265 in that neighborhood, depending on where you look. In the neighborhood 2-1 odds now for Tuivasa. I'm okay with Volkov as the favorite, but I was more in line with the initial odds, which weren't close to even odds, but they were closer to even odds than this. Not saying it should have been even odds. I actually was okay with the Tuivasa. What was he open at, like a plus 140? So he was under plus 150, and now he is over 2-1, depending on where you look for the more dangerous heavyweight volatility, folks. Again, that's all you really need to justify it. But let's not pretend. Why is Volkov favored? Well, he is a superior range striker, and he works the body. And he not just works range, but uses front kicks from that old Kyokushin or Tsu Shenjen, which is another kind of form of sport karate iteration, if you will. You maybe see that more. These more in places like Russia or Eastern Europe. You see these attached outside of the more stereotypical places, if you will, and that is Volkov. I think that's going to be very useful for him, as we saw in the Sirogan Bon Gamin, which I wish I was around last week. I could have reminded you guys, of course, is French for boner jams. We all know that, and it definitely jammed up Tuivasa's belly, right? So that's there. That being said, when it comes to the legs, I think Tuivasa does have an equalizer, and albeit his only range weapon, since he really doesn't like to jab too much, it still is a good one that counters said jab, and said even front kicks, because whether you're front kicking with your front, like whether someone starts to front teep me, especially like in Muay Thai or Muay Thai sparring even, much less MMA or anything, same thing, if they're kicking me with their lead leg, I'm going to make sure, because I like to, especially as a southpaw, I like to step back with my lead leg, and it not only steps back to get out of range and set up an offensive angle, 2 birds at one stone. We've got 3 birds with one stone. It sets up in either a counter right or a leg kick as your opponent is wading into you. So if they front teep at you with their lead leg from an orthodox stance, they're front teeping with the left, maybe I step back with the right, and when that leg comes down off of the rechamber of their kick, I'm timing it, because you can't check, especially someone who's good at checking. I'm trying to kick they're checking my kicks. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to kick, even if I'm thinking I'm being clever and disguising it, I'm going to wait until they kick, then I'm going to slam their fucking legs when they're putting it down. And then the same thing if they're kicking with their back leg, even though you really can't time it, they are having to use their leg to balance, pivot, so they can't really lift it to check, they can't really, pull drag or slide step back out of range. These are great times to kick the legs. Obviously, it's there when a jab is. We know that because when you jab, your weight goes on your front foot. And Tuivasa, I forget the name of the kickboxer he was working with for about 3 camps in a row during that run that he had, right, in Abu Dhabi. But it was, I forget, but shout out to Aaron Bronstetter. Bazooka Joe Valtellina knows a thing or two about kickboxing. He actually really highly recommended this guy who was a former fighter or maybe still an active fighter as well, who trained with Tuivasa, and you really saw upgrades both in the clinch and at range with those leg kicks. And this was even after he already beat a tall guy in Stefan Struve. Now, Struve does not have the jab and his reliable range weapons. That was kind of his thing. Even though he was actually taller and longer than Volkov, he did not have those same range weapons. So I wouldn't, even though I'm a Tuivasa fan in this spot, I wouldn't get too crazy with that comparison. But at the same token, when you want to look at the Bongamins of the world, right, Cyril Gans, or even Arlovsky, who I picked to give Tai Tuivasa a fight, and he gave him a tougher fight than people care to admit beforehand, or maybe can remember if they haven't gone back to watch it. And then Dos Santos, even though he's not much of a kicker, he is an athletic and agile mover. I don't think it's height necessarily. I think it's athletic and agile movers for the stouter and portly Tuivasa, which makes sense, right? Does that mean that, again, he's going to beat Volkov? Does that mean Volkov's height isn't going to help him? Of course it doesn't mean he's going to beat Volkov. Of course Volkov's height is still going to help him win or lose. That being said, I don't know if it's the definitive thing here. I think it's more mobility issues. And even though Volkov, has more range weapons than a Struve, and he's not, unathletic, he's not, some athletic phenom at the same sense, right? In fact, he too struggles with the athletes. He's not as much of a mover, whether it's like an Aspinall or a Gane or what have you. That really throws him off. In fact, one could argue the more athletic mover and distance closer, the more athlete is Tuivasa here. Again, it's not, how cut you are. It means how you're an athlete. It's what can you do? What kind of freakish things can you do? Generating power, explosion, whether it's through concussive force or popping up out of bad positions, fighting through the clinch, etc. These kind of things. And Tuivasa, despite his stature, shows those things. Again, no issue with Volkov being favored. Completely understand. Maybe it's me just, taking the obvious dogs and leaning into the few dogs I have, because that's kind of, you could really easy make a case for that in MMA, right? But yeah, I'm going to go with Tuivasa. I think, you look at, not that stats mean everything, but I do go back to watch the footage. There's not a lot of checks from Volkov. And yeah, whether they're body, head, or leg kicks, everybody lands at a 90 to 100 percentile ratio on Volkov historically. Add that plus the clinch stuff, I know it's not the small cage, but Volkov's going to have to be diligent for 3 rounds nonetheless. And that can be hard to do, as we saw in his fight with Derek Lewis, another opportunistic slugger, if you will. So give me Tai Tuivasa. I just put a unit on Tai at plus 208. I'll probably I may still sprinkle on Tai KO / round 2. I guess I'm waiting to see what I can fit into my round robin and where I end up with before I start putting more than one unit into a volatile heavyweight fight. But it's a volatile heavyweight fight, so give me the dog. All right, let's push through the rest of these rather fast. This is actually the only fight on the main card I didn't get to study for you guys, was which I wanted to. Manel Kape, minus 430, Felipe Dos Santos, plus 300. I got excited. I was like, is this Willie Cat? And obviously it's not Willie Cat. So I still got to look into this guy. I did glance at his bio, and he sounds like just a kid who kind of grew up on the streets. He doesn't have kickboxing or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu ranks at least listed. Have not lurked his Instagram, but he just sounds like a tough kid who grew up on the streets in the favelas, found his way to the Diego Lima shootbox team, I believe. And I want to look more into him, because even though obviously Kape should be deserved to be favored, he was originally getting ready to face Kai Kara-France in this spot. Kape's got a ton of potential, but despite him training in my backyard, being an extreme couture guy, again, folks, I don't blindly go bias, blindly go bias here, and I keep keep it real with you. Kape's not a guy, keep it the same as before. I'm not a guy who I've really trusted at big favorite odds. So not necessarily looking to bet him. So even if I do make the obvious pick here, that doesn't mean I'm going to play him, but we'll see if there is an angle, or if Dos Santos is more lively than I imagine. You never know. So I always say, you could be surprised, folks. You could be leaning one way and you go the other after you watch the tape. I don't know about this spot, but again, hit me at Dan Tom MMA for my quick picks and plays on Fight Day on Twitter. I ain't calling it that other shit. All right, we got Austin Lane, plus 190. Justin Tafa, minus 250. I can't remember if I picked Tafa in round 1 or round 2. But I think I'm just going to go Tafa round 1. That's what I know what the odds are saying is going to happen. I just don't like the vibes of Austin Lane. Going into enemy territory, trying to make friends with the crowd, whereas, Tafa's just like, want to come here? Want to smash? He's just got that Mark Hunt energy going on about him, and I appreciate that. So, Tafa boys are on a roll. I know Tuivasa's been training with them as well. So, even though Tuivasa, again, hadn't been in Abu Dhabi, he is training with some high-level, sizable strikers, higher-level, sizable strikers for what it's worth. So, we'll see how that goes for him. But, yeah, give me Tafa round 1 KO. It's not really sexy, the lines there, to play any of those things. So, I don't think you'll really see it anywhere. Even the plus 125 or whatever for the round 1, it's like, what are you really going to get with that? All right, we got Tyson Pedro. He opened at minus 125, but now they're even. Minus 110 apiece, pretty much, or roughly close to it. Of course, he's facing Anton Turcal, the Pleasure Man. Oh, man. Remember that? When Pleasure Man fought the Jail Man? I thought the Cut Man, when they had the check-in station, was going to hand him some lipstick, Like, Turcal, he's like, what's this for? Like, Jail Man likes it when you wear lipstick. It's his words, not mine. And, he gave it up to the Jail Man. But Pleasure Man's pretty tough. We saw that with the Petrino fight, whether it's taking shots or being in bad positions or being gassed. So what I'm trying to say here is I think that Tyson Pedro is live for a decision. I'm actually playing. It's actually going to be my prop Scott submission this week. Tyson Pedro by decision. Like, Dan, Tyson Pedro's never won a decision. He's never won a fight that came out of the first round. Like, that's right, but he's also had a really weird career. I believe he's actually still a younger guy, at least by light heavyweight standards, and at least by the miles. 31, still in his early 30s there, which is kind of crazy because he's been around for a minute, but he hasn't fought a lot. He had that big year gap. They tried to set him up with a bunch of gimmies, which no disrespect to any of his opponents, but especially at the time maybe he's faced them. They were definitely favorable matchups. Then we did see him get taxed, right? We saw him have his typical prospect losses where you're supposed to beat the vet and the vet comes through, with the Shogun fight. And we saw his gas tank issues perhaps there reemerge, right? Now, this could be, something, especially after it happens again, right, with that one. And shouts, I believe, to my guy Aaron Bronstetter, I believe, again, giving Aaron a lot of shouts this show. But I believe he was smartly on Modestas Bukauskas by decision in that fight. And if you look at it, for a guy who looked like he really mispaced himself and started gassing by the end of round 1 after taking it fairly clearly from what I recall from a scoring perspective, you're like, this guy's not going to make it, especially when the commentary is reminding you that he's never won a fight out of round 1, and he dogged it out. But when you go back and look at that fight, and I never thought of it before, and I was already leaning toward this decision play anyways, but even more so now, when you go back and look at it, and I believe even others kind of in the know that will give out these little Easter eggs if you listen carefully, like the John Anik of the world, and others said he might not have been healthy for that. And you look back at it, and it actually makes sense. He doesn't even look like he's moving that great. And again, it's not like he's like some Bongamin boner jams out there, but he's a pretty athletic dude. He may be a lot of there might be not a lot of depth. There may be a lot of flash and fluff that, especially early on, made people think there was more depth to his game, but it wasn't for his lack of mobility. And he's got the ankle sleeves. He looks in much better shape this time around by his Instagram, like the physical, the eye test, right? Both how cut up and trim he is to how he's moving. And, you hate to make excuses or start looking through rose-colored glasses to kind of get confirmation bias on your bets. But again, that's why I do the tape before I make the bet. But I did notice that, man. I'm like, maybe there's some credence to what people were saying about him not being healthy for this fight and that he still dogged it out. And again, I'm not trying to make a case for him being a decision guy, but you look at it and okay, his striking is, again, with the depth as far as combination to striking technicality, depth, off the counter to the knockout power. Not terrible in these, but he's definitely not in like the 8 to 9 to 10 out of 10 range in those categories, right? He's more in the mid-range, if we're like a video game stats sheet to make it kind of arbitrary and easier to visualize here. I don't think he's going to be able to knock out Anton Turcal. Anton Turcal, not the greatest striker, not the greatest defense, so he should have him outgunned there. Neither are the better wrestlers, but size, strength, and wrestling technique, Pedro has him there too, so he should be able to take it to the ground if he's not feeling the striking for whatever reason, or God forbid Turkalj does hit him with something wild and maybe briefly stuns him. Pedro's got a wrestling advantage. He's got a ground advantage both on paper with multiple black belts in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Japanese Jiu-Jitsu. But Turkalj also a grappler by trade, very tough in that department, durable, can fight off his back and fight from bad positions unless the jail man is fully mounted and inserted himself inside of him and begin to inseminate. Then, God help you in that case. But nobody's really going to get out of that. Jesus, I mean, you need like plan B to the C to the D to the F to the max, right? And get me out of here. Mista. Easy, Dan. All right. Point is, I don't know if he's going to be able to finish Turkalj. And Turkalj may not have been a decision much, and he doesn't win decisions either. But again, he's not built to win decisions. So again, back to the fight where I picked Aldridge, a decision machine, to win by finish because it's what the matchup calls for. She's against a do-or-die fighter. This is a matchup where stylistically, not only is it stylistically weird / they match up weird, which could produce a weird fight, but more concrete. Both guys have similar strengths, which means it could be a wash, and you end up testing each other out. Both guys are in needs of wins here, some to different extents than others. Even though Toss Pedro only has one loss, he really is in need of a bounce back, right? Whereas Turkalj is winless and is 0-2, going around calling himself the Pleasure Man, right? He kind of was brought in for a reason, and I saw people hitting his plus number early, and it wasn't just imagination. We talked about the line movement off the top of this breakdown, but a card is bad when Anton Turkalj seems to be the dog of the week, right? I mean, all respect, I think I got friends that are on that side, but I'm not going to lay the chalk on Pedro per se, but you're going to give me close to 5-1. I know you can get close to 4-1 by submission, which doesn't seem too far value from a decision, which maybe takes the value off decision because you're like, guy never won by decision. You're going to put it that close to a submission prop, the way he's going to win most. How does that make sense? But why bet on something that you don't think is going to happen? I know there's value and whatnot, but at the same time, at the end of the day, why are you going to bet on something that I don't think is going to happen? Although he could submit Turkalj, I think the decision is lively. If anything, that line spread justifies my thoughts. And again, north of plus 4-1 is north of plus 4-1, baby. So I just put a half a unit on Pedro by decision at plus 450 there. Half unit. I gotta plug these into my action thing. I just made these today too, so apologies for those of you who follow me on there. All right, that takes us down to the prelim. So let's just check in real quick with the chat here. Mark Fellows, I believe Canada is Sean's pet name for Mike Bond, as Cockring is his new name for the heavily pierced jersey. Oh my god! I was gonna say, does he have a crush on my guy Jose? I love Mike and Jose, by the way. They're both two really nice dudes for what it's worth. But does he have a crush on my guy Jose? Like, I swear to God, every time he acts so surprised. He's like, look at this guy, his hair or his jewelry or whatever comment he's making over. But by the way, my guy Jose's got some awesome fashion. He's a very handsome man, by the way. Kills it, by the way, and a good dude. But so no shame, no shame for Jose. But I do wonder, does Sean have it? Because his eyes light up whenever he sees Jose. He cannot help but again, it's like the kid in class, right? Like that's what I see when I see Sean Strickland. Ghost Phantom, really appreciate the shout out, Dan. You do amazing work as well. Oh, you deserve the shout out, my man. People follow my man Ghost Phantom on whatever places you can. Reticent Lemon, hi, hello there. James Kendrick, do you like Volkov's Kyokushin style front kick, especially against southpaws? Yeah, I do a lot. Yeah, absolutely. Big fan of the karate style front kicks. He's got that perfect mix of snap, but with force. You're really hitting the ball of the foot. It's really a strong body jab. A lot of people can be a little too pushy with it. Really good Muay Thai people can really. Well, they can vary it, of course, their style of front kicks in Muay Thai, but they almost have that, where it looks like they're pushing, but they're just, it's just so pinpoint, they just kind of, literally stab you with it. I love those, too. Those are some of my favorite. I haven't sparred with a Muay Thai guy that thankfully, that's really good with that for a while, because that's monstrous. Jimmy Kudo. Oh man, I really want to timestamp that technique you are talking about where you retract your lead leg. Yeah, it's absolutely excellent when people take heavy steps forward. They just don't see you. It just perfectly chambers a leg kick. And it's great because you get them with a free leg kick and immediately they look down and go, wait, how did you hit it for me from that stance? Oh, wait, you're in that stance now? And just them processing it, you've already had time to hit them more, change your stance to confuse them more, and just ultimately take the initiative back off of a countering move. All right, let's get to the prelims here and knock the rest of this card out and get the fuck out of here. We've got Dawoon-Jung plus 220, Carlos Ulberg, Fantasy Jewish Fight League, Ulberg, minus 295. Yeah, man, as much as I love Jung, God damn it, Brad. As much as I love Jung, I'm gonna go with my speaking of my Jewish brethren there, gonna go with Ulberg. Ulberg clearly Jewish, just like Izzy is clearly Chinese, right? I guess so. Let's keep the theme rolling, folks. No, just kidding. Ulberg, of course, is a handsome devil, but can actually fight too. Looks like he's really getting the hang of it, taking it seriously. Took some tough stumbles and got right back on the horse. What a badass! You'd love to see it. Gonna take Ulberg here. I know it's nothing sexy. It's what the odds are pointing to, which kind of leaves me angleless unless you get like the Tafa situation. You want like some plus 125 for round one. I will take Team Tall, Dark, and Handsome to continue to roll through here, baby. That's right. Probably round one with that left hook. He sneaks him in there, and even I don't know if it was I think it was more of like a counter 1-2 that Jacoby hit Jung with, but I don't know, just something about those rhythms, and then keep catching Jung early. If he doesn't catch Jung early, though, by the way, folks, I don't blame anybody taking a flyer on Jung late rounds or Jung by sub. I bet you can get a nice number on that. Heck, I'm probably not even going to play the fight, so maybe even though I'm picking Ulberg round one, if I had loose money to fuck around with, I would probably look at Jung round 3, Jung by sub or something, just for shits and giggles. But yeah, the official pick is Ulberg round 1 KO. All right, we got Ted Danson's bastard son, Jamie Mullarkey there. Jamie Mullarkey versus, speaking of alligator skin, he keeps hanging around John Makdessi. Hanging around. Plus 210 for John Makdessi. All right, we got John the Bull versus Jamie the Forehead. Sorry, shout to Ted Danson. Now, I got love for Jamie Mullarkey. But between him getting surprise KO'd there by Naimov, was it last time, to Makdessi again, as old as he is, as much as you might want to fade him, folks, he's got Makdessi's alligator skin. He keeps hanging around. I think this one's got Mullarkey by decision all over it. What is Mullarkey by decision? Maybe that'll make the round robin if it's a decent enough number. Probably not great, I'm guessing. Nope, it's only plus 110, plus money, yeah. Unless maybe I take it for a straight play. If I've got nothing else to go, maybe I'll shoot that. Because that's heavy chalk, and unless you've got a parlay going you maybe you throw Mullarkey in there. But yeah, other than that, Mullarkey decision, or maybe using him as a parlay leg, I wouldn't know otherwise than that. Chepe, I don't know if I'm going out of order here, but fuck it. We got Jack Jenkins, minus 215 versus Chepe Mariscal, plus 164. What did this open at? I want to look more into this one. You guys know I like me some Chepe. He came through as a dog last time. I didn't play him, unfortunately. I did pick him, though. It was kind of a weird, I believe, shorter matchup. It was that Trevor Peak gentleman. But Jack Jenkins and those leg kicks. Jack Jenkins is a dog. I really like Jack Jenkins, actually, a lot, too. I don't know about taking Jack Jenkins chalk. I feel like, and I wouldn't, I feel like it's Mullarkey minus the parlay. I wouldn't take even Jack Jenkins as a parlay, but I would look at Jack Jenkins maybe by decision. He's going to have the crowd behind him. He's one of those guys that really makes the leg kick scoring undeniable when he does go there. And Chepe Mariscal can make things ugly, which is good for him, but he is not adverse to taking shots as well, as you've seen, whether, especially if you watch his regional fights. He definitely, win or lose, will pay the price of a dogfight. Not afraid to, which is also why I love him. Got to look at this one a little more. Probably leaning toward Jenkins, but part of me really wants to pick and play and take a flyer on Chepe, you know? But probably leaning toward Jenkins for a pick. So maybe I should just stay away based on that alone. This week on Nasrat Haqparast plus or minus 520-ish. Landon-Quinonez plus 370. I don't know much about Landon-Quinonez. I got to go back and look over him. And that is just a really high number. Regardless, I don't even know what it's going to really do for you for parlays. I mean, you might as well have Izzy in your parlay at that point, plus like a few other names to even get a plus number. Like three, you know, you're looking like a 4-leg parlay at that point. You're trying to throw those two in there. Whereas, yeah, there's not a lot of chalk I like, so I actually wouldn't even be looking toward parlays this week. So don't be surprised to not see me do a parlay. Are we still up and running, folks? Yeah, we are. Okay, just over an hour. Not too bad. That's all it's being. No, it's not all it's being listed on Best Fight Odds. There's more than that, Dan. Of course there is. Yeah. Let's move up to the Best Fight Odds other part of it. Thought we were getting done early. Blood Diamond. Mike Diamond. Mike Diamond has Blood Diamond, and Mike Diamond they have as Mike Mathitha. Let's go Mike Mathitha versus Charlie Round. They have it like written 3 different times up here. That's freaking hilarious. I'll go off the Schmidt GM lines. Minus 350 versus Radtke, who apparently was as a cool nickname, and versus Blood Diamond, who's still winless, plus 270. Haven't looked into this fight. No clue. I'll probably be siding with the guy with the cool nickname as well. What's his name? Buffalo Horse or something? Chuck Buffalo. Chuck Buffalo sounds like a. Chuck Buffalo sounds like some guy who holds wrestling shows at a swap meet, you know? Come on down to Chuck Buffalo's annual. That's a good character voice. Here, Chuck Buffalo's, we find out who's the best. And we'll sell you a car. Jesus Christ. All right, Jesus, sorry for your ears. Next matchup. Wow, Dan, what a breakdown, Dan. Shane Young. I like Shane Young, man. Shane Young versus Gabriel Miranda. Shane Young minus 170. Gabriel Miranda plus 138. What was the odds on this one? Okay, a little bit of money coming in on Shane Young. Cool to see Shane Young as a favorite because I like him, but he's obviously kind of underwhelmed, underperformed. I thought he's always kind of had a cool, underrated style. He will be facing a guy who will probably want to grapple on paper and is not as durable as him. So there's that. I think though we haven't seen Shane Young against a matchup like that for a minute, probably not since he fought maybe Volkanovski even. If you rewind the tape on that breakdown, which is way back in the day, but it was one of those Arman Sarukian things where Makhachev, where I'm like, I'm obviously picking Makhachev here, but everybody thinking that, because it's Volk or because it's Makhachev, it's going to be an instant finish because, you know, who is this guy? Because he doesn't have a name. And obviously he didn't age as well as Sarukian, but both those matchup and the analysis was spot on as far as me saying, look for the decision angle on the favorites, folks. These guys are much tougher. You can be high on someone and not pick them to win or to be like a world beater. It's okay to like someone's style. Just because I like them doesn't mean I'm saying Shane Young's the fucking greatest or even Arman Sarukian's the fucking greatest things in sliced bread. But it did hold up in those situations, and it did. You know, again, he didn't come close to beating Volkanovski at all, but he was able to hold through and survive the grappling heavy, and that's what Volk was more known for at that time anyways, was grappling heavy attacks. And I will proudly state that too, because back in those days it was only Shane Young and Dan Hooker who was like city kickboxing reps in the UFC or within that area before like they became like the obvious cool kids, for good reason, by the way, getting the coach in gyms of the year for good reason, by the way, not hating, but I'm just saying before that blew up. I will say, you can rewind the tape on me, folks, both audio and visual, is saying that's a respectable team there. They're very underrated. And granted, I was saying it about guys like the Shane Youngs and Brad Riddells who didn't, do as good as not just me, but even many others who I respected also may have thought, That doesn't mean there's not legitimate things to those camps. It doesn't mean there's not legitimate qualities to those fighters. So give me Shane Young here. I didn't look into this one too deeply, admitted. I'm obviously giving you this analysis off of my prior analysis and memories of that. So I didn't run it through the full comb. I'm not putting a play out here for this one, but I am curious, what is Shane Young by decision? Because I think that's the most likely thing, which means it probably won't be a great number. Young wins by split and majority plus 900. Ooh, I like that if you have that. Young by decision plus 200, not bad. Maybe maybe you might see that on a round robin or something. I might throw that in there, Young by decision. Lastly, but not leastly, Kiefer Crosby. I know he's not the action man, but he brings action from what I can remember of him. Plus 128. Not used to seeing him on the UFC slate against Kape-Dos. I don't know who that is, but he is minus 155. I have no clue, folks. I will have to look closer into that one. Maybe take a flyer on Ireland there. For shits and giggles. Who knows? I don't know. I got to look into that one. Check me on Fight Day. Quick picks or not for quick picks. That won't be on there. But for my on Twitter, not going to give it to you. X ain't going to give it to you, but Twitter will give it to you at Tom MMA. You know what I'm saying there. All right, let's clean up the chat before we get the fuck out of here. Mark Fellows, to recap, DT is taking all the local fighters. I love it. All right, I got Mark Fellows' approval. That's right. Maybe I'll be welcome to stay with you, Mark, if I come into Australia. What part of Australia are you in, by the way? If I want to weigh this, as I'm already inviting myself to come see you. At the very least, come buy you some beers or some barbecue. But end of December is when I'm looking to go. Chuck Buffalo sounds like a poor man's hamburger mince. Chuck Buffalo. Hey, Buffalo chuck roast is probably good. Buffalo's good for you folks, but yeah, I know what you mean. It's Chuck Buffalo does sound like a poor man's brand, though, if it wasn't literal buffalo. Like Chuck Buffalo's chuck roast, now made with actual buffalo. What were you making it before? What were you making it with before, Chuck? Chuck, I had a double buffalo. Chuck, I had a double burger. The Shane Young versus Volkanovski fight was weird. Brad Riddell was in Volk's corner. Yep, that's right. And Dan Hooker was in Shane Young's corner. And Behrman and Lopez were on opposite sides. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, they were opposites on that one. It was after that fight they started coming together. It was kind of an important fight in their lore there and their unification there, which was cool to see, coincidentally, not so coincidentally. Volk starts adapting new striking styles and further evolving as well. So, hey. Mark Fellows, I reside in Sydney, sir. All right, noted, my man, noted. I will holler at you if I end up making it to your side of the world, because you are definitely someone I would love to visit and owe some beers and more, sir. All right, thank you guys for participating in the chat. Didn't expect to really get you guys. Make sure to give it the thumbs up. Appreciate that. And, thumbs up also, outweighs any of the haters still lurking around. But you know what? The moderators do a great job. And as far as the comments goes, are clean. And if anybody does give the thumbs down, I don't see it. And you're actually helping the algorithm. So thank you. So either way, you're giving it a thumbs. You're actually helping me. But yeah, the thumbs up are what's visible to me and to many. No one sees the thumbs down. So it doesn't matter. And those people are helping me and just showing what kind of sad little haters they are. But hey, man, that's just how some people react to life. Others, even if we can't get up consistently, that's life. We do get up. We do fight on. That's why I am here. That's why I'm here for you guys. That's why I appreciate those of you who are here for me. We reciprocate that energy. You know what? Let's get some fucking wins, baby. We're fucking due. Let's fucking go. Not that being due matters. I don't know, man. Despite having another rough week and this year's been rough and I could go on and on and on, it's just adding to my story, man, and it's going to make the success that much sweeter because on these winning weeks that I have had, guess who's not around, man? None of those haters. So, again, we keep doing our thing and supporting one another, getting out there, living life. I know I am. Down over 10 pounds, going back down, getting back into shape, not deviating off diet or stretches and exercises as best I can, even while sick. So I'm holding it together and killing it here for those wondering, man. Just trying to keep my head down and work and better myself rather than hate on others or hate on life. You got to try to love it. Even if there's crappy things in it, man, there's too much good stuff to love out there. So let's get after it. Much more than this fight stuff, but for what it's worth for the fight stuff, I wish you all the best. All right, thanks, guys. Good luck on your picks and plays, and always protect